Who, when, how much sexual abuse. That's what we're working on. First of all, let's start with a little bit of information. Let's define sexual abuse. It's referred to as molestation. It's usually undesired sexual behavior but from one person to another. In other words, something done to you sexually, whether it be touching or comments or things like that, that you did not want to happen. When the force is immediate and of short duration or infrequent, it's more considered assault. So sexual behavior by one person onto another is molestation. When it's just real short, doesn't really happen all that often, it's considered an assault. Also, molestation is the word used when we're talking about children. Sexual abuse is on a person no longer considered a child in the eyes of the law. Most of the time, that in most states, that is 18 and above. Most molestation may occur when a child is inappropriately touched, forced to do sexual acts, oral or other penetrative, or even if they're forced to watch someone else perform sexual acts such as masturbation, or even if they are in some states considered watching porn as a form of sexual assault. Who gets abused? Well, a lot of people think that just women get sexually abused. But let's look at some numbers. What are the numbers of girls versus boys who get molested? 1 in 5 girls get molested in their lifetime. So if you look around the room at the people sitting next to you, out of 5 females in your 4, we'll say, in your area, you being the 5th one of you was molested as a child on some level. So what about boys? 1 in 20 boys is a victim of sexual assault. There's really no reason that we find why, other than a lot of things they think are the reason that numbers aren't as high is due to the fact that less boys report. They are made to feel like less of a man. If it's a man on man, what if I'm gay? Just a lot of things fall into why boys don't report. But let's go with the 1 in 20. Guys, look around the room. Look, visualize 19 other men in the room, including yourself. One of them was molested as a child. Can you figure out which one it was? Of course not. You have no way of knowing without their background. But one of them was molested as a child. Let's go into the offender and, who gets abused, who is the abuser. Abusers can be anybody. We don't know. An abuser is just whoever does the act to the person. That is the definition of the abuser, or what we have known in these days when it comes to a child as a pedophile. Someone who sexually abuses or molests a young child is considered a pedophile. There's a lot of different words: rapist, sexual assault, people that are registered sex offenders. There's a lot of different words we use, but we're going to go today as we use the word abuser. That is the person who is causing the sexual abuse on another person. Okay, so now we're going to go in. Who's most vulnerable? They say that children between the ages of 7 and 13 is the ones that are more likely to abuse. So these are the people that were manipulated into doing sexual things or believe, there's a lot of different things that go on. What was the person using me? Okay. So then we're going to go into some of the effects. Children who experience rape or attempted rape in the adolescent years were 13.7 times more likely to experience rape or attempted rape in their first years of college. We're really not understanding why, but it can cause things like low self-esteem. You can feel worthless. They feel abnormal or different from everybody else, like something's just not, I don't know, what would you say, just right. They have a tendency to become withdrawn. They don't trust people very well because, as a child, adults abused them and broke that trust. And sometimes it goes as far as becoming suicidal. So now let's go into men versus women. Let's see. Men's statistics. They have found that 1 in 6 men have experienced abusive sexual experiences before 18. Now, before we said it was 1 in 20. But as they get older, we find out that men are also sexually abused. 1 out of every 6 women in the United States have been assaulted or raped. Females ages 16 to 19, which we would consider a woman, are 4 times more likely than the general population to be victimized of rape, attempted rape, or assault. 94% of women who are raped experience symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder just in the first 2 weeks. 30% of women reported as long as 9 months later. So you don't know that you have PTSD. It's not something that you're going to be aware of. 33% of the women who were raped attempted to commit suicide. 13 of them actually attempted it, not just contemplated it like the 33%. Of that 33% who contemplated suicide, 13 of them actually, they tried it. That's a horrible number. That's out of 1,000 raped women. 130 of them have tried to kill themselves. 330, an actual third, have actually thought of killing themselves. They think so little of themselves and so unable to get through what's happened to them that they feel the only way out is to kill themselves. So let's go into a little bit more. 70% of rape or sexual assault victims experience distress. A larger percentage than any other violent crime. More than physical abuse, more than robbery. I mean, think of someone walking in your house and stealing your things and the way that makes you feel, or just having someone steal your purse. The distress you feel from that is more when you're raped. 38% of sexual violent experience work or school problems. Like they no longer can function at work. If you're a college student, your grades are going to start to fall, which can cause really big problems with your boss because, well, let's face it, now you're not doing your work and your boss is like, what's going on here? Co-workers don't understand why you're not the person you used to be, and now your peers, well, they kind of realize something's wrong. And if you're not talking about it, it just may come across as you doing something, or you're just not the person you used to be. 37% of people experience family or friend problems, including they get into arguments more than before. Like I said before, even adults are less able to trust their family members or friends, or they just don't feel as close to them as they used to because now they're just that person that's different. You were abused and they weren't, so you're different than them now. So it puts a wedge in between them as far as how that person feels. So let's go into abuse in the home. Okay. Children who do not live with both parents, as well as children living in homes marked by parental discord, divorce, and domestic violence, have a higher rate of being sexually abused. It increases when children live with step-parents or a single parent. When they live without either parent, they are 10 times more likely to be abused. When you live with a single parent. When they live with a single parent that has a live-in partner, they're even at a higher risk. There's 20 times more likely to be victims of sexual abuse than children living with both biological parents. Now, we're not saying you have to be married, but when both biological parents are there, there's a less likely to be abused. So, this has a lot to do with children's ability to trust. It's easily to manipulate and lie to a child who's a family member. So once you become a step-parent and become part of that family, only about 10% of molestation on children is actually done by strangers. But they have found that 79% of the survivors were victimized by a family member, close friend, or acquaintance. 67% of survivors were victimized by a strange experience, professional or emotional issues. Around 10 students. Now we're talking about your teachers, your principal, your guidance counselor, your nurse. 1 in 10 students say they were victimized by their people in their school. 4.5 million students currently in grades K through 12 have suffered from sexual abuse by an educator. More than 3 million have experienced sexual touching or assault. It would include both romantic relationships between teachers and class and outright pedophilia. There is no way. Everybody has the ability to be considered when it comes to this. Can this person molest my child? How do you know? What is the way? Well, let's talk about some ideas with prevention. First and foremost is to talk to your children. Be with them. Get them so that they trust you, so that they can tell you anything from a very early age. Keep your word when they come to you and you say, I'm going to fix this. Then make sure you do it. Monitor their internet use. Offenders use the internet for children into physical things all the time. Parents, be aware of relationships that seem like there's something wrong. He's too old. They're too close. He's got or she has too much control. And trust your instincts. If you eliminate opportunities for children to be isolated one-on-one with somebody, you've reduced your chances. Adults, internet dating is something I have to touch on here. It's to be in lit areas. Do not meet somebody in a dark alley. I don't even feel I should have to say that. Take someone with you. Go bowling or to a busy restaurant and meet there and leave separately. Make sure that person leaves well before you. Wait 15 or 20 minutes, if not a half an hour, with your friend and make sure that friend goes home with you. Do background checks. Talk to your friends. They're the best ones. They know about people. Don't put yourself in a situation where it could cause you to be sexually abused or sexually assaulted, or let's use the word raped by someone. Be cautious, be careful, and love your children. Thanks a lot.